everybody. So last time I was talking about how male leadership was so central to European philosophy, and how, for example, Robert Filmer was talking about how as a father rules his family, so the king rules the families of his land, and how his detractors thought this was infringing upon individual freedoms, but only for men, of course. Women were the weaker sex, and therefore they had to be controlled by men. They should stay in subjection to their husbands and fathers. And that's kind of bleakly amusing. The fact that it was only about 100 years later that a woman, I'm sure women were writing a lot about this kind of stuff, but we don't have those writings. They weren't ordinarily saved. So we're actually very fortunate that Mary Wollstonecraft, she was an English writer and philosopher, and we still have her A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, with strictures on political and moral subjects. And she's basically trying to fight male double standards in society in this book. And she shows how illogical male assumptions of superiority are in this book. And my favorite quote is, it's not too long, so hang on. She basically writes, "Who made man the exclusive judge, if women partake with him the gift of reason? In this style argue tyrants of every denomination, from the weak king to the weak father of a family. They are all eager to crush reason, yet always assert that they usurp its throne only to be useful." I love her turn of phrase. I think she does a lovely job. She reminds me of the Aesop fable, where I think it's called The Man and the Lion or something like that, where a lion and a man are walking along, arguing with each other about who is greater, and they come to a statue, and the statue is of a man crushing a lion. I'm paraphrasing heavily here, of course. And the man turns to the statue and says, "See? Man is greater than lions." And the lion looks at the statue and looks at the man and said, "You know, if lions were sculptors, then it would be the lion crushing the man." And I think that's pretty much what we're seeing through history, is that women keep going, "Excuse me?" about this assumption of superiority by men. And it just gets squashed by society, which is a shame. One of the things that I really love about society now is that we're actually able to share information. Information is very easy to find today. It's very encouraging that it's like that. And in fact, had that not been the case, I would not have been able to find out about the unusual, to us, style of family that matriarchies have, and how effectively unnatural the nuclear family is, which is funny because even in late 1800s, I think it is, there was apparently a pope who was remarkably forward-thinking for the time. It was Leo the 13th. And he was still endorsing patriarchal families as both natural and universal, which I hope by now I've shown are neither. But what he wrote was, "In like manner, the authority of fathers of families preserves a certain impressed image and form of the authority which is in God, of whom all paternity and heaven and earth is named." And my thought was, well, that's certainly not lacking in audacity to basically say men are equal to God in that respect. So, but that's just me. And it's interesting also that as men gain more and more rights for themselves, they do so without extending the favor to women or to people of color, which is in a way very sad, because there were white men who were abused and who were enslaved, and yet they cannot seem to take that step of, if it hurt me to have this happen to me, Perhaps it would hurt others too, and I should not do it to them. I don't know if that's a European thing, because I do know that there are men in matriarchies who are much, much more compassionate. It's an interesting question. I don't know. I know that some of the commentary that they've written about it, the maintenance of society, is unwittingly hysterical. There's a Catholic aristocrat who criticized the French Revolution, and his name was Louis de Bonald, and he cites the Bible as his proof of man's right to dominate women, so that the family, rather than the individual man, must be considered the basic unit of society. The very fact that he had to say individual men rather than individual person in itself is kind of amusing. But then he goes further to say that effectively, if you allow women to initiate divorce, then you are bringing on the destruction of society. That such a fundamental deconstitution, and he uses that word, deconstitution of the family, that's apparently responsible for the inevitable degeneracy of the state. Who knew women were so powerful? But enough about that. I hope I've argued clearly enough that the nuclear family is not natural, and the enforcement of man as head of family is not natural either. But it does raise the question, if the basic family unit is not the married couple with a dominant male and their offspring, then what is a true nuclear family? And I'm going to say that it is a woman with her offspring, but she is embedded within her community, her extended community. And I think that is the basic unit, a true nuclear family. To back this up, I'm going to look at higher primates. We are evolutionarily descended from the primates. Excuse me, that's not actually strictly speaking correct. The higher primates, the great apes, they're like the bonobos, the chimpanzees, the orangutans, the gorillas, and us. And I think it's just those 5. And the interesting thing is that we had a common ancestor somewhere way back, evolutionarily speaking. So if a nuclear family that consists of a dominant male and a female and their offspring is actually natural and universal, then it should appear as being so in probably at least one of the great apes, and that doesn't happen. None of them are like that. They are, in fact, very different. And the one that we are most closely related to are the bonobos, and after that, the chimpanzees. They are both troop species in the sense that just ignore that. In the sense that you have a handful of males and females, and their extended lineages. But who the father is not important to the chimpanzees. What's important is who your mother is. This is particularly significant with the bonobos because the matrilines will back each other up. And that's how you get a situation where, for example, a male may be able to beat up a smaller female, but he won't do it because he knows that the minute she starts screaming, her entire matriline will come running and will beat the snot out of him. And, smart bonobos don't want that to happen. So neither do smart chimps, honestly. And so that's why who your mother is more significant. The other interesting thing is that we frequently assume that the dominant male is the one that fathers all the offspring. But when they started actually doing genetics testing on a lot of the young monkeys, they found that only about a third of them were fathered by the dominant male. The females basically will wait and sidle off with the male that they like better, and then they'll mate with that one instead. So being the dominant male in the troop means that you probably have first choice of food, and you probably have the first chance at females in estrus, but it doesn't automatically guarantee that you're going to be the only sire of the children. That is so weird. My cat is yowling for her breakfast, for her dinner outside the door. So if you can hear that, she's fine. She's just insisting that I get up and feed her. And in fact, I think I'm going to pause real quick to take care of that. So I know that's kind of an abrupt place to stop with a statement like that. But I'm running out of time also. I will develop that statement more. I'll talk about it more in my next video. And if you found this interesting, I hope you found it as fun as I did. And if you did, and you're still here after the entire however many minutes this has been, then please feel free to push the like button, maybe subscribe. That would make me very happy. What else? Share with your friends. Leave a comment. Comments are great. It gives me good ideas on what people are interested in and what they'd like me to talk about next time. And I will talk to you all later, and I hope you have a great weekend. Take care, and bye-bye.